She vanished from the Air Force without a trace. Now they're forcing her back into the cockpit to hunt the man she once trained. If you drove past her house on Waco Street in Fort Collins, Colorado, you'd probably miss it. Just another plain two-story with tan vinyl siding and a mailbox hanging on by one screw. No garden. No welcome mat. Nothing to catch the eye. The woman who lived there, Danielle Mercer, didn't make waves. She liked it that way. Most mornings, she walked to her car with a reusable coffee cup. Hair tied back, aviators on, like clockwork. She worked at Roland Systems, a defense contractor tucked away in Loveland. Buried behind spreadsheets and inventory reports. She was quiet, efficient, dependable. Her co-workers said she kept to herself. Always met her deadlines. Her supervisor once joked. Danielle could vanish for 2 weeks and still be ahead of schedule. She never talked about family. Never stayed late. And never brought anyone to the company picnic. There were rumors, of course. That she had military clearance. That she'd been somebody once. One guy swore he saw her name on a Department of Defense memo back when he interned at the Pentagon. But nobody asked questions. She gave off a vibe, not hostile, just final. Like a door you knew better than to knock on. What none of them knew, not her co-workers, not her neighbors. Not even the man she dated for 3 months in 2021. Was that Danny Mercer used to fly F-35s. Not just fly them, she owned the sky. 2,000 hours logged in hostile airspace. Missions over Eastern Europe. Her call sign was Echo. And for 8 years, she buried every trace of that life. Like a bad dream she never wanted to relive. But bad dreams don't stay buried. Especially when the people who created them still know your name. It started one Saturday morning, 6:45 a.m. Danny stood barefoot in her kitchen, flipping through expired coupons. Debating whether she could justify a grocery run. Old sweatpants. A faded Air Force hoodie. Luther Vandross playing soft from her phone. Then it buzzed. A number she hadn't seen in years. Should have been blocked. Deleted. Forgotten. Her hand froze over the screen. Not panic, memory. That cold rush in your chest before your brain catches up. She didn't answer. She just stared. When the call ended, she shut off the phone and slid it into a drawer. 10 minutes later, 3 sharp knocks at her front door. Firm. Military rhythm. She didn't move. Whoever was out there didn't knock again. They just slid a white envelope under the door, and left. She waited. 5 minutes. Maybe 10. Then picked it up. No name. Just a stamp. Department of the Air Force, Office of Special Projects. Inside. A photo. Aerial. Blurry night vision. 2 fighter jets. One with U.S. insignia. The other, unmarked. A sticky note. We know who the other pilot is. And we know you trained him. Her grip tightened. Her throat went dry. It had been 8 years. 8 years since Syria. 8 years since she walked away. No farewell. No ceremony. Just silence. She was supposed to be invisible. She'd signed the papers. Kept her head down. Did everything right. But they found her anyway. And the worst part? She already knew who the other pilot was. She just never thought he'd come back. Never thought he'd turn. But the moment she saw that photo, she understood one thing. Whatever peace she'd built. It was over. And somebody wanted her back in the air, not after what she saw in that folder, not after she saw his name, his face, and the jet that should have never flown without a U.S. transponder. Jensen leaned forward, his voice low but urgent. We don't need you to kill him. We need you to find him. Intercept. Talk if you can. Stop him if you have to. Danny's jaw tightened. You trained us to fly, not to play therapist at 40,000 feet. That's not a no, he said. She didn't respond. Her fingers traced the edge of the photograph, her eyes scanning Dragunov's jet again. Every angle, every custom mod, it was familiar. Too familiar. He wasn't just flying like a ghost. He was flying like her. Her moves. Her sequences. Inverted brakes she taught him during a Nevada exercise that weren't in any manual. He wasn't just evading the US, he was mocking her, in the sky, with every move. Jensen tapped the table twice, the signal to move. He slid her a military ID, new, fresh, bearing her old photo and a reinstatement notice. Temporary clearance. You'll get the rest after the psych eval and physical. We'll keep it quiet. You'll fly Black Ops, no insignia, no official logs. You disappear again after this, we look the other way. She pocketed the ID. If I fly, I choose my own WSO. He hesitated. Who? Sergeant Maya Tran. He blinked. She's grounded. Disciplinary review. Overturned last month. I read the file. Still, she hasn't flown a combat mission since Qatar. Danny's eyes flashed. Neither have I. Jensen relented. Fine. I'll make the call. Be at Peterson Field by 0700 tomorrow. You'll be flying a modified Viper until we verify your cockpit ready for 5th gen again. And Mercer. She stood. Don't. You were the best pilot we ever had. You still might be. But this isn't about medals. If you're wrong about him, if you hesitate. I won't. Her voice was stone. And I'm not wrong. At 0600 the next day, the runway at Peterson AFB shimmered with heat and tension. The pre-dawn sky turned indigo, and hangars buzzed with quiet activity. Danny walked onto the tarmac in her flight suit, helmet tucked under her arm, every step of her boots a reminder that she was stepping back into a war that had never ended. She spotted Maya Tran leaning against the refueling truck, arms crossed, lip curled in a half-smirk. You're late, Maya said. You got the call. 3 hours ago. You better have a damn good reason for dragging me into this. You still dream in airspeed and elevation? Maya laughed once, then fell silent. He really came back, didn't he? Danny nodded. The crew chief waved them over. Their jet, call sign Echo 1, was prepped and humming. Danny climbed the ladder, paused at the canopy, and looked at the open horizon. It wasn't nostalgia. It wasn't pride. It was inevitability. Dragunov was out there somewhere. And she was the only one who knew how he thought, because she helped shape the way he flew. The first mission was simple, patrol. Scan the Black Sea corridor where intelligence last placed Dragunov. But it wasn't routine. Every cloud carried tension. Every radar blip felt like a test. Viper control to Echo 1, confirm vector 120. Possible contact. Unidentified, no transponder, altitude 36,000. Danny's breath caught in her throat. Copy. Eyes up. Maya. Infrared's picking up one jet, fast. No IFF. No chatter. They turned. The sun glinted off a distant silhouette, then it dove, hard and fast, almost taunting. That's him, Danny muttered. Same move. Ghost dive spiral. I taught him that. Orders. Danny pushed the throttle. We get closer. They climbed. The shape grew sharper. Matte black, no markings, tail fins modified. Dragunov's jet. But he wasn't fleeing. He was waiting. Then he spoke. Echo, a voice crackled over their open channel. I was wondering how long it would take. Maya froze. How is he on our channel? Danny toggled the mic. Nikolai. What are you doing? You left me, he said calmly. Left me to die in a desert war you pretended didn't happen. You broke formation. You disappeared. I followed orders. Just not your orders. Silence crackled. I needed to disappear, he said, so I could show you how deep the rot goes. And now you're here, again. You shot down an American pilot. I let him get shot down. Big difference. Danny's grip tightened. You were always good, Dragunov said. But you never understood the real enemy. Where are you, Nick? Her voice was low. You're looking right at me. Then he vanished again, dropped below radar, disappeared into the clouds like smoke in the wind. Back at base, Danny was debriefed in a sterile room full of one-way mirrors. She gave them what they asked, coordinates, maneuvers, transcript of every word. But they wanted more. They wanted motives. They wanted betrayal. And worst of all, they wanted Dragunov to be someone she created on purpose. Afterward, alone in a briefing room, Maya finally said it. Why'd you really walk away in 2017? Danny stared at the whiteboard. Because I didn't just train him. I warned them. I told them Dragunov was off. That he had questions no trainee should ask. That he was testing boundaries. And they ignored you. They silenced me. Covered up the mission. Let me disappear so the program could stay intact. And now. They want me to clean it up. Maya looked at her. You're not a janitor, Danny. You're the best shot they've got. Danny's eyes burned. Then they better hope I'm still as good as I used to be. Because this wasn't just about stopping Dragunov. It was about finally exposing the truth they buried years ago. And this time, she wasn't going to fly back into silence. She was going to drag the whole damn program into the light. Truth at 40,000 feet. The second mission wasn't authorized. Not officially. Danny sat in a dark hangar under a rusted airstrip 3 miles outside Ramstein Air Base. She wore civilian clothes, but the plane in front of her was military, stripped of decals, weapon ready, alone from someone she shouldn't have been able to call. Maya paced nearby, agitated. You sure about this? If they find out we're flying off book. They won't. Danny didn't look up. And if they do, it won't matter. We'll have proof. Proof of what? Danny turned slowly, eyes cold. That Dragunov didn't go rogue. Maya stiffened. Danny leaned against the wing. That he was sent. That this was a test from the beginning, some clandestine op buried so deep even high brass didn't see it coming. That's conspiracy level thinking. No, Danny said. It's survival level. That night, the mission began, not from base, not under protocol, but from an abandoned German outpost with tech too advanced to be surplus. As they launched into the black sky, Danny whispered to herself, he'll come again. He wants me to. And he did. At 41,000 feet, east of the Bosphorus, Dragunov's jet emerged, silent, shadowed, perfect. His voice crackled again on their private channel. You disobeyed orders, Captain Mercer. You defected. I graduated. From your broken chain of command. Maya whispered, he's baiting you. Danny didn't answer. She focused on his vector. He was drifting. Not in evasion, formation. Like a wingman. Talk to me, Nick, she said. He laughed. Remember Kandahar? Danny flinched. You told them it was a training op. But we both knew, something else was in those crates. Bioweapons. Not our flag. Not our mission. That's classified. You think I care about classification anymore? You think any of us should? He pulled up, leveled beside her canopy. Face to face through glass. His helmet was off. Just like in the old days. But he looked older. Eyes sharper. Unforgiving. They made me watch. 2 weeks after I went dark, they sent drones to finish the village we secured. No threats. Just, witnesses. You know who gave the order? Danny's throat closed. Your commanding officer. The one who recruited you. Who told you to forget Kandahar. You can't prove that. I can. And I will. But not from courtrooms. He paused. I'm going to burn them from the sky. And you can either fly with me or try to stop me. Maya clicked the weapons system live. Say the word. We can clip him now. But Danny hesitated. Nick. Give me the evidence. You want this exposed? Let's do it the right way. There is no right way, he growled. You're still playing inside their rules. With that, he peeled off, straight into NATO airspace. He wanted to be seen. Wanted to be followed. And Danny couldn't let him go again. Act 3, The Mission Within. Back at base, things escalated. Danny was grounded by order of Lieutenant Commander Aaron Pike, Jensen's replacement. A bureaucrat with polished shoes and no dust on his uniform. He threw the file at her. You disobeyed a direct command. Unauthorized airspace incursion. Tampering with secure logs. You're hiding a war crime, she shot back. That's treason. Not if I prove it. He leaned in, voice venomous. You're not going to prove anything. You're going back into exile. And your little WSO. We'll see to it her career ends too. That's when Danny made her choice. She walked out of the meeting, straight to the hangar, and broke open her backup hard drive, one she'd smuggled from Kandahar after the original op. Video logs. Sat feeds. Scrubbed transcripts Dragunov had never seen but she kept. Just in case. Because she'd always suspected. She uploaded it anonymously, to every major investigative outlet. Every whistleblower agency. Every international court with teeth. And she put her name on it. But it wasn't over. Dragunov had one last move. He resurfaced 3 days later, mid-flight, during a military conference airshow in Dubai. As the elite world's eyes watched aerial stunts, a black jet cut across formation, unauthorized, uninvited, flawless. His presence was unmistakable. The crowd gasped. Pilots scrambled. But he didn't attack. He dropped a flare trail in perfect loops, a code. One only Mercer could decipher. A location. A time. One last rendezvous. Act 4, Last Flight. She met him above the Red Sea. Just the two of them, in mirrored jets, eagle against ghost. He spoke first. You finally saw it. The rot. I always saw it. I just didn't want to believe it went that deep. He slowed. I'm tired, Danny. They used us. And I don't know how to fight them without becoming them. You don't have to. I already did. He flicked a switch, an auto-upload beacon. Flight logs. Satellite footage. The real op from Kandahar. Every cover-up. Every name. Her radar spiked. What is that? Maya's voice rang. Missile lock, Danny said coldly. Not from us. From behind. A drone. U.S. signature. Dragunov looked at her, resigned. They want to kill the story. Not just me. Break left, she ordered. I'll intercept. He shook his head. This is the only way it ends. And then, he surged straight upward, drawing the missile with him. A flash. A roar. A blinding bloom in the sky. Dragunov was gone. But the data was already loose. And Danny didn't run. Epilogue, the sky remembers. The fallout was global. International courts opened war crime investigations. 3 senior military officials resigned. The whistleblower files went viral. The press called it the Sky Ledger. A new generation of pilots called it a reckoning. Danny Mercer was court-martialed. Then quietly pardoned. No honors. No fanfare. But no exile either. She declined reinstatement. She didn't need wings anymore. Because the truth had already flown higher than any jet ever could. And the sky, finally, remembered the aftermath. They buried him without a name. Not officially. Not on record. But in a desert just outside Langley, there was a casket no one claimed, guarded by silence and shadow. Dragunov's body was never recovered. Only the debris confirmed he was gone. Officially. Classified accident. Pilot error. But in the war rooms and whispers of power, Dragunov's name burned like acid. The Sky Ledger had ignited something no one expected, a reckoning not just with policy, but with identity. For pilots, officers, operatives, the questions were no longer about orders. They were about conscience. And for Maya Brooks, they became personal. Act 2, The Witness Stand. Capitol Hill. Sworn testimony. Cameras flashed. Every seat filled. This was no routine hearing. It was a bloodletting, one cloaked in procedure. Maya sat before the Senate Subcommittee on Military Oversight. Her uniform was crisp. Her hands didn't shake. The senator across from her was ruthless, Gerald Thornton. Retired general. Patriot in name. Fossil in practice. "You're telling us," he said, voice laced with disdain, "that the United States military sanctioned black ops using biological agents, and your only evidence is the word of a traitor?" Maya leaned in. "We have logs. Coordinates. Declassified drone footage. Cross-referenced orders. And yes, Nicholas Dragunov's testimony. He wasn't a traitor. He was a warning." The room went still. Another senator, Elena Choi, cut in. Why would someone with his record turn on the very system he helped build? Maya looked down, then up. Her voice softened. Because he believed we forgot what it meant to fly for something bigger than protocol. Outside the chamber, protesters lined the gates. Some called Dragunov a martyr. Others a monster. Some held signs reading, "Who gave the order?" Inside, Danny watched from the gallery. Eyes hard. Silent. Not just a witness to history, but a part of it. Act 3, The Deeper War. 3 weeks later, Danny received a package. No return address. No tracking number. Just a flight badge, burned at the edges. Dragunov's. Inside was a chip, encrypted. She took it to a hacker she once saved in Kandahar, now living off-grid in Vermont. What they found nearly stopped her heart. The data logs didn't end at Kandahar. They stretched beyond, to Djibouti. To Syria. To Colombia. Dozens of false flag operations. Missions scrubbed from history. Pilots listed as lost were actually casualties of betrayal, used, abandoned, erased. Dragunov hadn't just exposed a scandal. He'd exposed a pattern. Danny knew what had to be done. She flew to Geneva. Not for asylum, but for accountability. At the UN Tribunal on Covert Military Abuses, she stepped into the spotlight. Not as a whistleblower. As a survivor. And she told the truth, unvarnished, unforgiving. About the orders that made her question her oath. About the system that turned good men like Dragunov into ghosts. And about the pilots they buried, not in graves, but in silence. Act 4, The Final Flight. Months passed. Investigations expanded. Allies turned skeptical. Defense contracts froze. Generals fell. But the truth? It did something else. It inspired. Young recruits began asking questions. Cadets demanded ethics briefings. A new code of honor began forming in flight schools, no silence above 30,000 feet. And Danny? She moved to a coast town in Oregon. No flyovers. No jets. Just seagulls and wind. But sometimes, when the clouds broke just right, she'd look up, and remember. Not the war. Not the missions. But the man who flew beside her. Epilogue, The Pilots We Bury. In a quiet ceremony outside Colorado Springs, a small group gathered around a marble plaque. No names. Just one quote. The ones who vanish don't always leave. Sometimes they rise. Higher than we ever allowed them to. A retired general left his medals there. A journalist placed a folded transcript of the Sky Ledger. And Danny, she left her wings. Maya stood beside her. They'll never admit it, Maya whispered. They don't have to, Danny replied. The world knows now. They stood in silence. Above them, a lone jet carved a white line across the sky. Not a weapon. Not a warning. Just a reminder.